Sorry? Oh, yeah? Hi, everyone. You're watching a recording. Do fast forward a minute. We're going to get started really quickly here. Oh, enjoying the sun is out today. So, already been outside a couple times with the baby puppy, and enjoying that weather. How cool is that, right? Signs of spring. It's a good thing. It's supposed to all thaw out this weekend. We're pretty excited to have that instead of this freezing temp. I know it's so bad. Okay, so yesterday, was it yesterday? Yesterday, I go out, take the puppy out for to go potty. It's 7:30 in the morning, and I put on my coat because I'm thinking it's gonna be really cold, right? So I'm out there and I'm going, oh, it's warm out here. Huh, I didn't even need this coat. Well, went in and checked. It was 37 degrees. I know. It's a matter of perspective, right? Anymore. Oh, that thick blood. Yeah. The only reason why I'm mentioning that is because my cousin told me she was freezing out there in California at 57 degrees. I'm going, huh, and it's pretty warm at 37. Nice balmy weather. So, anyway, okay, so maybe it's just for you, honey. All right, so it's 1 o'clock. Today's Wednesdays, UFO Wednesdays. I'm QFOM Gray, and I am broadcasting from 4 channels today. We are on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Q Talk on Facebook. So hopefully you're joining us on one of those channels. If you are, do give us a little thumbs up or a like or even a share if you feel so inclined. Maybe not today's, but maybe Mondays would have been more interesting. Today, what are we doing? We're doing UFO Wednesday. It is unfinished objects. And you know, I was thinking about this, although I finished the Stone on Stone on Monday. I didn't do any of the finishing work on it. You guys all sort of assumed that it was going to get done. I was like, you know what? If I don't do the finishing work on it, like on this live, it's going to go into the unfinished pile. So might as well get it done and take the opportunity to just, tighten it up a little bit, show you guys what I'm doing and how I get it there. So with Stone on Stone, it was a long, laborious project of learning how to set a stone inside of another stone. So, I wanted to mention this, a couple of things, okay, is after we were done on Monday, I got a phone call from a viewer, and she's like, why didn't you tell me this is what you were doing? I could have walked you through the process. And as great as that is, there is a certain amount of I didn't want to really understand the process because I wanted this to be really fluid, and I really wanted to work through the process live and to show you what the ups and downs of doing something from the very beginning and learning through a process. And then the question came, well, did you look it up? How many of these did you look up? And frankly, I looked up one video on it, and I skipped through most of it because there was a lot of jibber chatter like I'm doing now. But anyway, so I skipped through most of it because all I really wanted to understand was how they were setting the stone into the stone. And what they did was they actually glued it. And there seems to have been a lot of discussion among you viewers in the chat as to how this should have been set. So there was a couple ways that this could have been set, okay? And I will tell you how I would, if I had actually really, really understood it, the next one, if I was to ever do a next one, it would be quite different. So setting it would have been just drilling a hole, put the tube in, and glue it in, right? So we have this setting on a peg, and just glue it in. It's actually 2-part epoxy, whatever it is that you want to use. I'm a big 2-part epoxy kind of girl. Okay, so we're going with that. Or another thing you could have done is you could have riveted directly onto the stone, which for me is totally sketchy business, right? Because if you're going to put this down, like so, on a surface, you might crack this stone. And that was my biggest bone of contention with riveting this peg. Another thing too is, as I was talking to this friend, she's like, oh no, what you would do, and I just thought I would take a minute to share that with you, is what you would do is take out your bench block, but then you would put something on there like a piece of rawhide. And so it gives you that stable, solid surface to be able to rivet in there. But again, it always makes me feel really nervous to do anything right onto the stone. I mean, I've done riveted rocks before, riveted glass before, and it is all sketchy. I guess it's a good way to put it, right? You know, if you don't do it right, you're just going to crack the stone, and you have to be really diligent about it, although it is doable. Okay, so there was that. Another thing that was brought up too was by another viewer in the chat last week was to saw this tube into four. So sawing it across, right? Or sawing across into it, which would then, when you go to rivet it, very easily splay that tube out. Frankly, I found that to be sort of messy looking. You know, you sort of have this unfinished cross on the back, right? And of course, as if you were watching on Monday, you saw where where this had fallen apart. I had actually sawed out a silver area in here that did not work out very well. And I was drilling a hole in there, and I was going to rivet this right onto the metal, which again leaves an unsightly rivet. Regardless of what you do, you're not getting around this rivet unless you want to glue a piece on top of there. Okay, so that was my bone of contention with this whole thing, is that I really don't care for this dot that's on the back. So if I was to do this all over again, just saying, because this is such a nice thick stone, I would have only drilled halfway in and put the peg in there, and you would not see anything on the back. Why not? I don't know that anybody else is doing that, but then again, I haven't done a lot of research on this or even really looked at anybody's. I see the stone on stone projects that are done, but they don't show you the backs. I don't know what their backs look like. But again, if I was to do this again and I thought it all the way through, I would have drilled this only halfway, made the peg a lot smaller, or at least continue to trim until it fits just inside, put the glue in, put this peg in, done. And so it would look seamless, and then it would look a little bit more, shall we say, magical, right? As if there's a little secret to it. Anyway, so I just wanted to share some of those thoughts because, some of you guys might jump into this and give it a try. You never know. And okay, so since I didn't quite finish it the other day, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of finishing. So on the back side, I had already done a lot of filing in the previous segments, but I noticed that there's still some sharp edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out a bit of sandpaper, and I'm going to go ahead and just sand it. And notice again, always sanding at a slight angle to give it a little bit of a beveled feel. And it just sort of, it doesn't take much to do it, but it does help, right? Okay, so I have all these crazy ridges, as you can see, the scallop edge that I sawed out. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to just go in and do it to sand it on all the edges. And notice, I'm only giving it a couple of strokes. I don't need to do much. Oh yeah, it feels great. Okay, I know, as if you can feel it. This is sort of the magic of television, right? You'll just have to believe me that it is actually enough. And of course, I have my favorite tool here with the popsicle stick or a tongue depressor that I have glued down some sandpaper. And for some reason, I have sandpaper strips that are really narrow, so I'm just using it up instead of putting it to waste. All right. Okay. By the way, if you need sandpaper, you can definitely find it on our website, especially that 500. It's really hard to find. So we have that on our website. Okay. So I'm always stroking and feeling my metal to see where the sharp edges are. All right. So then another thing I noticed too as I was looking at this, you can barely see it in the camera. You can sort of see that this backside wasn't really great. So instead of filing, I'm just going to use my sanding disc. It'll just make really, really quick work of it. And it's just going to help tighten up my cut just a little bit. A little tiny bit, that's all. And because that will also produce some sharp edges, I'm going to hand sand that edge just a little bit, just to remove any sharp edges. Okay, there we are. Okay, then this peg on the back side, you know, it's still sticking out by about 2 millimeters. And my thought was, you know, most people would pull out a file and just file this puppy, right? A needle file or something flat and just file this. But frankly, I don't trust myself. I think that if I file this, I'm going to be filing my silver. Yeah, pretty much. So I'm not going to trust myself to do that. Instead, I trust the sanding disc a little bit better. So I'm going to be really diligent about this. If you're looking, you can see the tip, the mandrel tip. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go scratching your metal or your stone. So I'm going to do this at a slight angle and sort of just move it around and just really, 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 really pay attention to where that mandrel is. Oh yay, see, it's almost flush already. Okay, let's come in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. But this makes nice quick work of it. You know, something I noticed too, especially with beginners who haven't used the flex shaft very much, is they forget about the rough parts of the mandrel, and that will cause a lot of scratching and a lot of problems later. So be really careful with that. Do you see how I'm doing that? I'm doing that at a slight angle instead of flush like so. Okay, let's see. All right, that's pretty clean. Okay, why is that looking dirty? Okay, so it looks a little tiny bit dirty, so I'm going to keep going just a little bit more. Maybe it's just the glue, and I'm going to clean it up just a tiny little bit. There we go. Okay, so these dark spots that are on here are actually part of the stone. I know you need to be diligent about that too. Make sure you know what you're looking at and make sure that you're not taking off something you shouldn't be taking off. Yeah, then there's that. Okay, so let's go ahead and patina this. I am using black mats because it's my favorite. Because it's instant. You see that? It works. It feels almost like it's a marker, but it's not. It's actually an acid. It's hydrochloric acid. So be careful. Keep this away from from your tools, away from your workbench. You know, if you notice, I have mine in a jar inside of another container because I just don't want this to bleed leach all over my stuff. So I'm deciding to go ahead to oxidize this to give it that antique look because I think this project has a lot of, is very reminiscent of a cameo to me. So it's very antique-y looking. It's also very feminine, yeah? So what's even funnier is the other day I had, or maybe it was yesterday, I had a customer come by to pick up some stuff here who had been watching and following this series, and she's like, and she's known me for quite a while, I think maybe over 10 years at this point. She's like, that's a lot of pink for you. I said, yes it is. But remember how this project started. This project started because I didn't know where it was going, and I wanted to use a stone that was not particularly, shall we say, special to me, that I wasn't too attached to. Should I crack it? Yeah, I know. So bad. But the garnet's really pretty, right? Okay, so we're going to get everything really nice and patinaed. Like so. And then we're going to do the inside too. Here we go. just like that. There we go. Because I want everything to have some pop here in a minute. And it won't be so bright because it's a little garish with all that brightness. It seems to tone it down just a little bit. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and give it a really good rinse. Always rinse anything that you patina to arrest the process. Okay. By the way, if you recall, on Monday I used 2-part epoxy to get that glued in. Ooh, I forgot to do the back. Oops. Okay, let's do the back. So another tip here I also learned the hard way is, you know, I have these rags that sit out on my workbench and I go through them pretty sparingly because, you know, I just throw them in the wash, so I don't care. But in any case, so I had been using the Black Max, and I used this cloth here, this rag here, and I had cleaned my brush out on the rag, and I forgot, and I left the rag on my bench for a few days, and sure enough, what was there absolutely leached out onto my tools that were sitting nearby, and I came back and everything was rusty. So even that, you got to be a little bit aware of all that. Okay, so don't take anything for granted. Clean off your workbench. I know it's so hard for a lot of you to clean off your workbench, but I'm constantly cleaning my workbench because, well, I'm a little OCD. We'll go with that. Okay, there we are. So I don't care that it's all blotchy like this. I just want to make sure that it's in the recesses of the pattern that I have. Okay. So we'll go ahead and use the brush on it. You know what? I think I am going to go, it'll be faster and easier if I go to one of these brushes. Hold on. I love my flex shaft. It just makes really, really quick work of everything. And of course, gosh, there's so many parts. Okay, I am so not used to doing pieces this big. I found more to oxidize. Oops. Okay, we need to oxidize this too. Who knew? Who knew? Next time you have a clear stone, make sure you oxidize it first, just in case it gets into it to the backside. Okay, let's see, what are we doing? Oh, we're adding this on. And we're going to clean this up. This will make really, really, really quick work of it. I hope. But for me, when it comes to finishing, I'm just going to start using whatever tools I have that seems to be most effective. The sanding disc I have is that I used on the peg. Oh, the question is, what grit is the sanding disc? It's marked. They don't tell you. It's marked as coarse, whatever that means. But I think it's probably around a 200. Seems right. I don't think it's 150. See how quickly that's coming up? How nice is that? Okay, let's go to the back. Actually, you know, at the back, I think I'm going to use the brush. It might go faster. Larger space. Not going faster. Not being real helpful. I got to go back to this. Okay, so as you can see, these brushes, they just make life a lot easier as it gets things really, really nice and clean. Jeweler's hands, of course. Okay, a little more here and there. Let's see what I missed. Okay, so I see here where my wire is connected. Do you see that little bump? I'm going to fix that too. And this is a question I get a lot. How do you fix those areas? It's called very carefully, but I'm going to show you how I do it here in a second. So I hit my stone a couple times, okay? Because that's just going to come off. It's just schmutz, right? There it is. Sort of cool. All right, so in here, it's not really cleaning up very nicely, so I'm going to see what I can do. Maybe take out a little bit of steel wool and see what I can clean up in there. By the way, if you're watching from overseas and you're thinking about doing virtual labor crafting, you need to put in your registration like this week so that we can get kits out to you in time. It does take a lot longer to ship overseas for those kits. So for the rest of you, chop chop, get going. It's coming up pretty quickly. Let's see. So I'm going to do a final cleanup with some steel wool. It just doesn't feel clean. It's coming up nicely, so you can see it's nice and shiny. But this hand polishing always makes me feel good. You know, I'm guessing my hands are really dirty. Also, lotion. I have a ton of lotion on today too, because my hands are really dry. It's probably leaving fingerprints. You see, it's getting all dirty back here. It's probably my lotion. So be very aware of what's on your hands. But see, that's nice, right? If I don't say so myself. I'm going to have to hit this with some soap. So off camera later, I will take this and put it with some Dawn liquid soap and a brush. Okay, let's go back to the front here. And clean that off. I know, people hate steel wool. I actually like the stuff. I just think it does such a nice job. Okay, there we are. What else can you do to this to refine it? Okay, so the only other thing I see is in this bail here. And it's looking a little challenging in there. So I'm going to take a piece of steel wool and just stick it in there. Because I don't have anything else that small that I can get in there. And, you know, it's just that I can see it. Honestly, most people would not see this and it wouldn't matter, right? But because I can see it, I want to clean it up. And I'm just using a pick to do this. Probably best to use a toothpick if I had one. Let me see if I have one. Don't think so. We'll have to get up to get it, but I think I got it anyway. Pretty much clean. What happened to my steel wool? How did I lose the steel wool just now? Wasn't it just here? Okay, we'll grab another piece. We're using quadruple zero steel wool is all I ever use. I find the other stuff, I don't know, a little funky. Just a bit funky. I'm gonna change out to a better awl here. And try not to scratch anything while I'm doing this. Again, you know, a toothpick probably would have been better, then I wouldn't be scratching anything. But this seems to be cleaning up okay. Okay. Oh, I did say I was going to show you how to clean that up. So I'm going to switch out again to a much finer disc. Let's see what I've got. I have a finer disc here. And I'm going to see if I can get it to sand. I don't really want to put in a file in there because I know myself. I know where my skills are. And I know I'm going to scratch it. Or scratch something else. You know what I'm saying. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to do this very, very gently. Can you see that? Right in there. Just a little tiny bit. Notice how I'm just doing it ever so gently. Just like that. Doing it slowly so that I don't hurt anything else that I unintentionally. Okay, so now that that's done, because I know my 600 is a lot finer than the sanding disc, I'm gonna finish it off with my 600 and make it really nice. Okay, so here, you probably can't see it, but this is just to my eye, right? Is to see what else needs to be cleaned up. I'm just trying to satisfy my own eye. And, you know, finishing really is in the eye of the beholder. You know, some people find certain pieces to be done, and I would look at it and go, okay, you need like another 50 minutes on that or another hour on that. Whereas, you know, some people will continue working past that hour and keep going. All right, so now what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the bezel, and it's feeling like certain areas, like I can see right here, there's a wobble. So I'm just going to push it down some more. And I'm looking for other wobbles along the way. I want to just make sure it's all even to the stone. I want it to hug the stone really, really, really nicely. Because you don't want this to catch, right? You just want to have a nice transition from the stone to the bezel. Wow. It's a lot more than I anticipated. I thought, see, it's sort of interesting. I thought it was down. And now that I'm going around again, notice my position on my bezel rocker is really high like this. It's not even at an angle. And I'm really pushing it to ensure that all those little prongs are absolutely hugging the stone. And, you know, I never used, until the last few years, I never really used gallery wire. And I'm just sort of having fun with it. You know? It's sort of fun to see all those little prongs go down. It's like a piano or a domino. You know, piano keys. Okay. see. Yep. So all this needs at this point is just a little hand washing, just to make sure that you get all the schmutz off. You know, any dirt or residual. But it's a quickie today, just to finish this, and then I'm off. But we're finally done. There's your final product. I'll take a picture of this finally and post it. And there's your backside. Again, a little bit of soap and water would get any of the dirt off that has accumulated back there. You know. Okay. Yes, and that's my hallmark. It's a little bird. All right. Well, hopefully you guys learned something, tiny little bit of finishing today, and I don't know, and you enjoy the rest of the week. It was me. It was going to be really quick. I'm Q Farm Gray. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for liking all the videos and sharing all the videos. Again, maybe not today's, but definitely Mondays would have been cool. That said, Zoom along on Friday. We have a Zoom along. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. A lot of you have registered for classes for recordings and were not able to attend the live Zoom classes. If that's the case and you haven't finished your projects, or you have questions about those projects that you watch the recording on, do come to a Zoom along if you have the time, or if you're around, and ask questions if you want to, or if you just want somebody to play in the studio with you so that you're not in the studio alone. That's us on so at least once a month we do a Zoom along at 1:30 Eastern, and the Zoom link is already posted on the Q Talk Facebook page, and you do need to register to jump in on that. There's no cost to you. It's just sort of for fun, and I get a little bit of dedicated studio time to work on new projects because I need to work on more projects. I know, it is what it is. So, Wendy, I'm glad you liked how it turned out, and I am probably going to put this up for sale if anybody's interested. Watch it on the Q Farm Gray page, and we'll see. I got to take a good picture of it before I post it. That said, all right, everyone, have a great rest of the week. We will stack. No wine on Wednesday tonight. We're slowing down on all these little events. So I will see you guys